Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. On today's episode of the podcast, we're making an announcement, and one that I'm very proud and very excited to make. Today, we are announcing a 3-day online event called A New Coffee Industry. This is a reworking of the 3 satellite events that we were going to do in Portland this year to SCA Expo. I'm going to give you a rundown of what the events are and an explanation of how we're bringing these events together. So it's a free 3-day online event exploring coffee sourcing, roasting, and leadership in the era of COVID-19. So the reworking that we did was all about how do we take the content and the intention behind what we were doing and repurpose it so that the experts that are speaking can clearly come to you and talk about how they've adapted their work for the COVID-19 or coronavirus era and beyond. Our industry has changed, hence why we're calling the 3-day event A New Coffee Industry. So let's break down the 3 events and talk about what's going to be explored through all of them. On the 12th of May, that's the first day of the event. That's a Tuesday at 9 a.m. I'm going to do a bit of an intro 15 minutes beforehand so we can like a kickoff rundown. But at 9 a.m. on the 12th of May, Jamie Isets and Christopher Ferran are going to run a 3-hour workshop on sourcing. And the title of the 3-hour event is called Managing Uncertainty as a Coffee Buyer. And we're going to go through in that, or they are going to go through in that, the idea of how you build relationships with producers, no matter how small the quantity of coffee that you buy is. How do you build relationships with producers so that you can source coffee directly from the producer? How do you build a forecast? How are they changing the way that they are sourcing coffee in the era of COVID-19 and beyond? And they're going to talk about the uncertainty of this moment and how they're approaching that as 2 veteran coffee buyers in the industry. Jamie works for Merit Coffee that's based out of San Antonio, Texas, and Christopher is the buyer for Phoenix Coffee based out of Cleveland, Ohio. Now, on day 2 of the events, we have, that's May the 13th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. These times are all in Pacific. That will be 7 a.m. in Australia. And the reason I say this is because our second day speaker is Ann Cooper, the roasting wizard that is Ann Cooper. Ann's topic is on roasting, obviously, and it's called ROR, the reality of roasting in the era of COVID-19. And that last little bit, in the era of COVID-19, is in brackets. And the reason is the bulk and the main part of what Anne's going to talk about is the reality of roasting, what it entails, what is, she's going to talk and answer so many of your questions that you will be able to ask when you register for your ticket, but we'll talk about that a little later. The reality of roasting is going deep into all of the things that you want to know about roasting. In all of the things that we're going to talk about, all 3 of these days, the assumption is going to be, let's approach this as though you have no knowledge. But it will still be an all levels class. The reason when Anne and I talked about this, that we want to approach this as though you have no knowledge, is just so that we can create a universal language that can be used throughout the workshop for everybody to get on board with. But it is an all levels class, and what Anne has in store is magnificent. The first hour is going to be a lecture. The second hour is going to be answering all of your questions. And the 3rd hour is going to be a discussion between Anne and Steve from Mill City Roasters, Steve Green, the CEO of Mill City Roasters, about the research that Anne has been doing with Rob Hughes about can you taste the roaster in your roast profiles? And by that they mean, can you taste the roasting machine in your roast profiles? And so we're going to have a great discussion, and I'm going to moderate that between somebody who manufactures roasting machines and Anne, who was one half of two people who did incredibly intense, thorough research about what she found. And I can tell you now, they most likely disagree on a lot of what they say, but it's going to be fantastic to see that discussion/debate about Anne's findings. So that's the 3-hour event that's going to happen there. On the third day, on the 14th of May, at 9 a.m. Pacific time for 3 hours, I'm going to be leading a discussion on leadership. And the title of the workshop is Leading Yourself and Others in Uncertain Times. This is going to be a discussion about the importance of identifying that leadership starts first within yourself and leading yourself. You can't lead other people in uncertain times if you are in a tiz inside of yourself about how to deal with crisis and how to deal with trauma. So leading others starts with leading oneself. Now, whether you go on to lead other people or not, this is going to be an important discussion for everybody. And I'm really excited to bring on board Kira Kennedy from Baratza to have a discussion in the third hour of this presentation about how she, as the CEO of Baratza, is leading in uncertain times. So we're going to talk about trauma management, crisis management, how to identify what you should be focusing on as a leader in times of uncertainty, because a lot of the trauma and crisis has already been experienced during the coronavirus outbreak. But now what do we do? Now we're left in incredibly uncertain territory and terrain with regards to when do we open? Should we stay closed? Am I ever going to be able to open my business again? Should I go back to work? I'm earning more on unemployment than I am in my job. And so how do I lead myself in those decisions, in the way that I make them? How do I lead in having a conversation with my employer about these kinds of important subjects? So the 3-day event is going to end with that discussion that is going to include a conversation with Kira Kennedy, the CEO of Baratza. Now, we may possibly get one more conversation in there on the first day, and we're still working on that, and we'll bring you more information when we have a confirmation of that. Now, the administrative side of things. We would not be able to offer these workshops for free if it wasn't for the generosity of our sponsors. The sponsors for these events are, for the sourcing workshop, Managing Uncertainty as a Coffee Buyer, is sponsored by Costa Oro. And Costa Oro are covering the costs involved in the speaker costs and the employees that are needed to manage all the back end of doing something like this. Costa Oro are covering the costs for the first workshop. The second workshop is supported by Mill City Roasters, and Mill City are covering the costs of all of that. And the third workshop, the leadership workshop, Leading Yourself and Others in Uncertain Times, is supported by Baratza and Elixir Specialty Coffee. And both those companies are covering the costs of all of that. So the event, the 3-day event, A New Coffee Industry, has 3 tickets that you will need to purchase for each of those events, and you'll purchase them for free. To attend live and to watch it for a week after that, you must register to get access to the live feed. Now, you will not be able to access the content unless you register. So it's been set up so that it's behind a wall and you need to register. It is free. And you go and you buy it, or you get a ticket to each of those events, all three, if you want to watch all three of them, or you can get it for just one or two if you like. Now, when you do register for your free ticket, you will notice that there are questions that are asked at checkout. Now, please, if you have questions that you would like to ask any of the presenters, please go ahead and do that at checkout. That's really important so that we have questions ahead of time that they can spend focusing on and make sure that they've carved out enough time for you to be able to get your questions answered. You will be able to get your tickets, or find the link to get your tickets at mapitforward.org/events. After a week after each event has ended, the video will no longer be available to access for free. You will be able to go and access it from mapitforward.org/webinars. And that's where you'll be able to get access to it, and you'll have to pay to get access then. Please tell all of your friends. Please help spread the word. These are the best in the world, the best qualified people in the world to have this discussion with you in this moment. And we cannot thank our sponsors enough, that because of their support, we get to continue doing this and we get to bring it to you for free. So I'm very proud and very excited to be able for us at Map It Forward to be able to present this to you. And I'm very proud and excited to be a part of it myself. I can't wait to learn all the things we're going to learn from this. And we'll only build from there. So very exciting times. I hope you'll join us. A new coffee industry 3-day event starting May 12th, going for the 13th and the 14th. Register at mapitforward.org/events, and it will take you to an Eventbrite link where you can register for each different event. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.